What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Custom Points Live. I'm Jared. Let's talk about the new announcement related to Bilt Cash. I have been doing a lot of thinking about Bilt Cash because, in my opinion, this whole controversy related to whether you're going to use it for housing or not housing or rent or not rent and all this stuff, it's beyond the point because what we really want to look at is what the card is getting you. And the big question this entire time has been, what is the value of Bilt Cash? How does it work? How does it operate? Now, I actually was messaging Bilt's AI chatbot prior to this announcement, and it was telling me that Bilt Cash was allowed to be used, and you could apply it only before using your hotel credits, and basically it was making it like there wasn't a cap. But then we heard it from frequent miler that there was a cap at 1,000 per day, and all these limitations. And we're like, all right, like this sounds great. Let's just utilize Bilt Cash when we know what it is. How about that? And so, the frustrating thing about Bilt Cash is that, we don't know what the value is, and we're applying for this card for the announcement. We're signing up for it. Here's the kicker. I'm going to tell you that I have not watched any YouTube comments about this because I really wanted to just think about it originally on my own. I didn't want to hear anybody's feedback on it. So I have not watched any videos on this new Bilt Cash. The only thing I saw was the post from I think it was Doctor of Credit. No, Danny the Deal Guru. I read his article on it, which was just him reviewing exactly what it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, my personal opinion, and I'd love to hear what your opinion is in the comments. We can talk about it. I want this to be interactive. My opinion is at first glance, Bilt Cash is monopoly money that gives you something valuable, which is points. I don't think it's so bad. I don't think this update is terrible. That said, let's talk about how it had to happen. Bilt, their business model was not working with Wells Fargo. Clearly felt Wells Fargo was losing a ton of money. They were bleeding with this concept of we're going to give away a point for rent or, obviously now mortgage. That was never going to work. So the real benefit now for moving over to cardless is how do we create something that's going to be actually work for our business model? How do we keep something profitable here? And I think that Bilt Cash was a brilliant way to get you to spend money in the portal. I thought that's what it was going to be. Now, it turns out that Bilt Cash is not that. Bilt Cash is a limited list of coupons. But the difference with the coupons is we're used to, the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Amex coupons where, you generally you can either, get the coupon. I'm not talking about the Amex offers, but you can get the coupon just by applying a certain amount of spend on that particular category and that particular spend, and you can get value out of that. You can extract value. There's an unlimited amount of that value because you can just keep using that specifically. Well, Bilt says no, we're not going to work that way. What Bilt Cash is going to do is it's going to accrue, and you can use those coupons, but you have to use Bilt Cash for them. So really what Bilt is saying is that you have to spend on the card if you want to extract any value from these coupons. So the first question is not what's the value of Bilt Cash. It's not these coupons. It's what exactly is the goal of spending on a card and what are the other cards out there? So let's look at the landscape around surrounding Bilt. The easiest thing to compare this to would be the Venture X because that's a $395 annual fee. You're getting $300 in travel credits on a yearly basis. Easy to use that in the travel portal. I like to use it for booking car rentals because you're getting 10x in the portal. I'm able to use my national car rental status when I book, even though it's a travel portal. It's some kind of a deal with their portal, which is I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it's Hopper. That's the name. So you're using Hopper technically, but long story short, you're getting 10x on car rentals. I use the 300 for that. Easy, no, and then you're done. Now you have 10,000 points that you're given per year with that card. You can cash those out and erase the car rentals, and there you go. So Venture X is a net positive, but am I incentivized to spend on the card? Absolutely not. It's been sitting in my wallet some, and then it doesn't sit in my wallet. Hasn't been in my wallet in a while. What's the other alternative? Is what's something that's a everyday purchase card that you get a lot of value? Well, that's the Hilton cards, the Surpass, for example. The Surpass, I like to say, it's three points per dollar that you're getting on regular everyday spend. But if you spend 15,000 on the Surpass card, you're getting in total another, let's call it 105,000 points. I say that for easy math because 105,000, divide that by 15,000, and you've got 7x, right? So that's 7x for a free night reward that comes with the card. It's really uncapped, but let's say minimum that you're going to use it for is 105,000 for easy math. 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 is your award for using that. I'm not even going to factor in the food and beverage that you get from the day or 2 days that you're staying in a property because of that. So forgetting that $50 that you're getting there, let's just say it's 10x, and you can buy those 10 points for half a penny each. That's 5% back. So the Surpass is our gold standard for everyday catch-all spend that you can get 5% back on your spend, right? You can buy Hilton points at half a penny each during 7 promos a year, thereabouts. So there you go, 5% back on your spend. That's now the threshold. So the question is, does the Bilt ecosystem allow you to get something like that back in value? Well, let's look at the different cards. You have this blue card, which is the basic card, which based on this Bilt Cash announcements, a lot of times it doesn't really even get you the stuff that you'd really want. So we're going to skip that for all intents and purposes in this conversation. We're also going to kind of skip the Obsidian card because the Obsidian card is great on its own. You're getting the 3x for dining or for grocery up to 25,000. We'll talk about Bilt Cash in a second, but I can tell you right now that I don't think that the Obsidian makes sense for anybody that has to use it for housing or rent. Because if you're using the Obsidian for housing or rent, you have to spend on that card in non-category spend, which we'll talk about in a second, because of this new thing that they have, that Bilt announced, and I'll talk about in a second. But long story short, I wouldn't put everyday spend on the Obsidian card at any rate that if you have any kind of a high mortgage. Let's say your mortgage is, for easy math, $1,000 a month, right? That's $12,000 a year. I'm just going to pull out my calculator here just to make it easier. You have to pay $750 per month to get the full points, the full 1,000 points out of that on an annual basis. Multiply that by 12. So you're spending $9,000 in non-category spend. That's on top of whatever the 3x is that you actually want to be using the card for. And that's $9,000 you could be getting way better value out of. So unless you're not using the card for housing, the Obsidian is probably not your go-to. That leaves us with the Palladium, which everybody is really excited about, myself included, and everybody likes to talk smack about. Well, I'm going to be the first to tell you that I don't love coupons. Never a fan. I don't own a CSR, right? A Chase Sapphire Reserve. Why? I don't want to deal with all those coupons. I don't want to jump through it all, and I really don't think that it's a break-even card. So I'm not going to be the one to sit here and tell you that the Bilt coupons, especially ones that you have to spend towards, are a good card. But what I will tell you is that without having to spend on the card, let's talk about the break-even, like that comparative analysis with VentureX. So again, VentureX, $395 annual fee. You're getting $300 in travel credits, easy to use, and you're getting $100 net, let's say, in points, really 10,000 points. That's giving you a net positive of $5. Now, if you don't spend anything on the Palladium card, you're getting $200 in Bilt Cash per year. You're getting $200 biannually, so $400 total in the hotel credits. The limitation is that those hotel credits have to be used for 2-night stays on the travel portal. So if you have this $200 in Bilt Cash, you can roll $100 over on an annual basis. So take that $100 off, and now you have $100 in Bilt Cash. Now, they just made an announcement that one of the things that you can buy with Bilt Cash is $50 towards the travel portal once a month for the full year if you have blue, which is your base status that comes with Bilt, or silver. Now, if you have $50 that you can use in the first half of the year with that $200 credit, then that's $250 now that you can spend for a 2-night stay on the first half of the year, and another $250 that you could spend on the second half of the year, and you're still rolling over another $100 at the end of the year, and that's without spending anything on the card. So you're getting $500 in credits. The annual fee is $495. So similar to Venture X, it's a net $5, albeit more annoying than the $300 credit with $300 plus the points that you're getting with Capital One. So if you're not spending on the card, I think the Capital One Venture X is easier. It's $100 less, and it's it's just a better card for not spending on at all. That said, the $495 annual fee is $5 below the actual value you're getting back from the Palladium. So in the end, just with those credits alone, you can say if you're going to use $250 on 2-night stay minimum twice a year, you're going to a wedding, that's a great use for it. Maybe you're putting it together, you're booking twice. I'm assuming you don't have to actually, use it. You could do similar to the Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts, and you can pay this year but then stay next year. So similar kind of thing. You could do this in Thanksgiving. So you have 4 nights. You do the first half of the year booking at the beginning of the year. You do the second half of the year booking right after that in the second half of the year, and they're 2 stays, but they're technically 4 days in a row. So that's a use case that I'm probably comfortable with. So there you go. You've netted an even break even. Now, what gets interesting is when you actually want to spend on the card, because they just announced this thing called the Points Accelerator, which is extremely exciting if you never had any real expectations for Bilt Cash, because you're getting 4% on Bilt Cash per dollar spent on that card and 2x. But what the Point Accelerator does is it allows you to spend $200 in Bilt Cash to unlock the ability to spend $5,000 and get another point per dollar on that 5,000. So you're earning 3x. Well, if you do the math, $5,000 worth of spend is at 4% is $200. So for that $5,000 that you're spending on that card, you're earning another $200 in Bilt Cash that you can then go and buy another $5,000, and you can keep doing this, getting 3x on your card. You can keep doing this up to 5 times annually, getting you $25,000 in spend. So let's again remove housing for a moment and just talk about, you can spend $25,000 on catch-all on any category you want, except for the things that are limited, like taxes, which is annoying, and things like I think eBay is another one on there. eBay and Facebook Marketplace. Okay, so that's fine. Frankly, eBay and Facebook Marketplaces are great things where you're going to want better purchase protections anyway, which is why I would probably keep another card available for that. So you have a total of, that was the doorbell. So you have a total of, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so the eBay stuff. So you can purchase the card, you can purchase using that card and on any category and get 3x. That's incredible. So I don't know about you, but I don't know any card that you can get 3x points on something that's very valuable points on any category that works for you, besides those ones I just mentioned and others that are listed in there. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that card all day. I'm going to break even with the $5 positive, similar to Venture X, and I'm going to spend $25,000 on the card in a calendar year. I have to remember, which is really annoying again, to have to activate the 5,000. So as soon as the 5,000 is spent, I got to remember to activate. But in my use case, I'm going to put more than just the 25,000 in spent. Why? Housing, right? So you're buying points. You're essentially buying a point for 4% back, right? So 4% Bilt Cash, for 4 cents of Bilt Cash buys you 1 point per dollar with this Points Accelerator. Well, you can get an even better deal with housing, which again, we're calling it a deal, but really you're erasing the credit. You're erasing by using the Bilt Cash. So you can, like I said before, spend 75% of your rent or your housing and get another point for every dollar in housing. So I see YouTubers that are adding that housing to the spend that they're getting on their card, which is that's fine. Then you're getting another 1.33 if you want to look at it like that. I'd rather put that point on the housing because that's what the actual value is. So you're just getting a surplus of extra points. So effectively, it's the same thing, the 1.33 thing, and that's fine. But at that point, you're getting 1.33 on that spend, which is again separate than the 25,000 spend because that one's giving you the 200 that you needed to buy the 5,000 accelerator in the first place. So the remaining spend that's required for housing is in addition to the 25,000. That number is going to be different for everybody, but I would say that's a great value to get even more Bilt points. Again, assuming that you care about Bilt points, which I do. I'm a big fan of Bilt points because I want to earn as much Alaska points as I possibly can. So Alaska is the big win there for me. Everybody's a little different. There's other stuff as well, Japan Airlines, Hyatt, but there's easier ways to get Hyatt points. So I would say the biggest question is to if you wanted to transfer your points to Alaska and you wanted to have JAL, or we'll talk about in a second, transfer bonuses. So now you have a total of 3.3x on non-housing spend that you needed to get the housing points for whatever amount of spend that is for you. And you have a total of 3x on the 25,000 that you spent on the card. Now, you don't have to spend a full 25, but you want to spend in $5,000 increments, so you're getting that 3x. Now, the question is, do you spend beyond that? Because clearly the card makes sense up to that point. 3x Alaska points is, I think, much more than 5% for the Surpass card, right? That's my comparison of the 5%. It's not better than a sign-up bonus, but this card doesn't care if you go hit a sign-up bonus and return to it. That 5,000 trick with the accelerator, you're able to, it's unlimited how long you have until the end of the year. So as long as you know you're going to be able to spend another 5,000 on the card, you hit that accelerator button, spend the $200 in Bilt Cash. It's funny money anyway. It's not real, and earn another 1x on that 5,000 and spend. So if you're not going for a sign-up bonus, this is the perfect card for you to be gardening. If you care about 524 and you're really trying to be protective, you can use this card easily for 25,000 a year. Now, some people have higher spend than that. I tend to spend more. I have a business as well. So for me, the question that I'm asking myself is, okay, plus the 25,000, in addition to 25,000, in addition to the spend on non-housing spend that you need to unlock housing points, do you spend further? Well, now you got to look at the other credits that come with the card, because the question is, are those valuable? Now, I don't know about you, but I find a lot of those credits not valuable. Everybody's a little different, but for me, I'm just going to go to my notes here. I've identified the ones that are valuable to me somewhat and how much they are valuable. So for me, Grubhub, maybe I'll use $5 per month. Now, keep in mind, Grubhub has all these different fees and everything like that. But I've seen lots of people that they'll go use their Grubhub to pick up, instead of it ordering it delivery, they'll pick it up. So whatever, that's maybe you're extracting $60 in value a year from that, in my opinion. Restaurants. Now, with the Resi credit with Amex, you can go and buy a gift card at that restaurant and hold on to that gift card. And you can accumulate those gift cards and then go to dinner using those gift cards accumulated, rather than having to spend the $50 Resi credit every time you're there and then you're still paying the rest cash. If this works in a similar way, you can do it relatively conveniently. And assuming that there's sufficient restaurants in your area, and it's not that big of a pain in the butt to do what I just described, okay, let's value that at $300. Now, Lyft, $10 per month. I don't know. I travel relatively often, probably once a month. And I'll probably say $30 is what I can really expect to earn from the Lyft credit. If I do better than that, great, but minimum around $30 a year. And Walgreens. I have a baby, I have a toddler. Walgreens is where we get our medication. Middle of the night, my wife says, "Hey, the baby needs something." I'll generally go to Walgreens. So I would imagine that I'll be able to get $120 worth of credit from Walgreens. And none of these are terribly annoying, but they're there. So notice I skipped a lot of credits. I personally don't think that the other credits are worth that much, if anything at all. The travel credit, $100, or I should say $50 if you're blue or silver, and $100 if you're gold or platinum. I don't know. It really is going to depend on if you can book in the travel portal using loyalty points, which I know you can with uh, home away from home, but forgetting home away from home because it's expensive. If, let's say, I just need a positioning hotel, so I'm flying from here to Hawaii, and this is a use case I had last year, but I needed to break up the flight for my family, and we stayed one night at an airport hotel in LAX just to give the baby a breather between the long flights. We live in Florida. Um, that was a good use case where I would see that, okay, I have $100, I would spend $100, but you're limited to 2 nights as your minimum. So for me, I'm not, very rarely am I buying 2 nights. Like I said earlier, maybe you're going to a wedding and you need 2 nights. Maybe you want to put two night bookings together and you've got 4 nights for Thanksgiving, right? But it's very rare that I'm spending that, because I get all these free trips from Hilton all the time, that I'm going to all these different wonderful places for free, or net free. And I will tell you that I'm rarely going to be paying out of pocket for anything, let alone for a minimum of 2 days. I generally rely on Hyatt points when they're a decent redemption for those one night stays. But if the Hyatt points just don't add up, it's just not a great redemption for Hyatt. I'll pay the cash, but I'm almost always going to pay at a Hilton property because I'm earning, as a Diamond member, 12x on a Surpass card plus 20x on the actual booking itself on the base. I'm getting a credit there as well, but let's just assume it's a $30 credit. 32x is what I'm essentially earning at a half a penny each, right? That's 16%. And then I'm getting another $30 on my spend, right? So let's say the total was 16% times, let's call it $150. It tends to be one night. So that's $24 plus another $30. So I'm getting $54 back on 150 in spend. That's about 35% back, right? 36% back. Now, I'm going to get that 36% back just paying with the card of my choice and accumulating points that I wouldn't necessarily buy, but I just gave you the price of if I was buying them. I actually redeem them for much, much more. The lowest I'll redeem Hilton points for is 1.4 cents per point. I know that's way higher than anyone else talks about, but I reliably get that with these higher end properties. So for me, minimum, I'm getting 36% back for $150 stay at for one night. I'm not going to book in the portal unless that $100 was not limited to 2 nights. I think it'd be very smart for them to say, okay, you're getting $100, but it's not limited to 2 nights. I think it's dumb that they're doing it that way. But for me, the only way I'm going to value the hotel credit to be able to use the Bilt Cash towards a hotel credit is if I'm also coupling it and adding it to the $200 hotel credit that you get with the card. So for me, I'm going to, like you're hearing from my spend, I don't think anybody that has the ability to spend $25,000 on the card shouldn't. I think $25,000 is a no-brainer on this card because you're getting 3x in non-category spend. That's brilliant. But I'm talking about beyond that. Do you spend and try to earn credits for? Do you try to earn Bilt Cash to then use as travel credits? It doesn't add up for me. I don't think I'll ever be doing that. But I'll get the $100 twice a year from that, and I'm using that $100 from the $200 I got at the beginning of the year with the card. So the $200 you're getting when you on your anniversary, I'm splitting up that $200 in my mind. I'm going to use $100 on the first half, $100 on the second half for that travel credit, basically bringing it up to $300 for me because I'm going to have gold status. And so that's $300 twice a year. That means that I'm actually earning another 105 on the card, not just $5 on the card. So on an annual basis, I expect to be 105 positive just by spending that 25,000. Now you spend the additional amount on the card, and you're getting a pretty decent amount of return. For me, it worked out to be around $500. Now to get that $500, you're having to spend to get that with the 4%. So it works out to being around 12,000 and change, let's say, in spend on the card to get the $500 in Bilt Cash to then use those credits. That's without really trying, and that's to get some more value out of the card. Again, depends on how easy the restaurant is, depends on how easy the Grubhub is, depends on, there's a lot of things that we still don't know. So because you're getting $300 when you're first starting with the card, you basically have a couple of months, because again, these credits are only usable with Bilt Cash. So you have a couple months, depending on, to decide how much spend do you actually want to put on the card. Because the question is, if these credits are relatively easy to use, I'll put a little bit more spend on the card. But I don't want to put more spend on this card to anticipate using credits that it turns out you can't even really easily use. So all of this is going to be predicated, the spend beyond 25,000 plus the spend for the housing, the spend that you need for housing. So beyond those two categories of spend, or segments of spend, I should say, the question is going to be, how easy is it to use these credits and the ones that you have in mind that you think you can get value from. Then that tells you if you should put a little bit more spend. But let's assume that they work as intended and you're getting about 500 in value, or at least I am. For me, that puts me at around 50,000 in spend on the card, which is, of course, what it takes for you to earn platinum status. Now, you're earning, of course, around $250 in Bilt Cash along the way, because for every 25,000 points you earn, you're getting another $50 in Bilt Cash. By my math, what I just described is over 125,000 points. Therefore, I'm going to be earning at least, like I said, $250 in Bilt Cash, which again goes towards these categories we're talking about. So in the end, I'm around 50,000 in spend. And the question then becomes, at this next tier, do I keep spending on the card? Let's say I have more spend than that to put on this catch-all card. The question at that point is Bilt Cash is worth nothing. There's absolutely no incentive for me in a Bilt Cash way to spend further on the card. The only thing that I'm getting at that point is the 2x, which is still, like I said, great, but it's similar to the Venture X at that point. So the card starts out the first 25,000, great value, 3x, right? Then it goes down to, if you want to use these annoying credits, maybe you can, and you get a little value in addition to the 2x. Okay. And then you're in this category where it's like, I'm getting nothing out of Bilt Cash anymore, and I've got the 2x. And so I don't think that was smart for Bilt to do that, because they're limiting themselves. For someone like me, that I would have continued to spend on the card. I want as many Atmos points as I can possibly get. Bilt is going to give me that. So for me, if it's between the Venture X and the Bilt Palladium, I'm going to spend on the Palladium all day because I want those 2x Atmos points. That said, there is an opportunity cost at that point that we pass that 50,000 threshold, because again, it's not in a vacuum. There's other cards to compare it to, like the Hilton Surpass, where, as we described before, you're getting 5% back, and that's it, just the points that you're receiving at a half a penny each that you would essentially buy them at. That's not to mention, like I said, I can use those points for upwards of 1.4 cents each, which if I have 10 points and I'm getting per dollar, 1.4 cents each, that's 14% back. There's no way that my 2x on Atmos is going to be equal to 14 cents back. 7 cents per Atmos point is a little high. Maybe I'm getting 4, 5, 6, 7%, something like 6 or something. 7% is 7 cents per Atmos point is too high of a minimum to expect to get from Atmos. That said, there's one variable that we didn't discuss, which is that as you have higher and higher tier status with Bilt, you have the ability to potentially, keyword potentially, get higher and higher transfer bonuses. And Bilt has ridiculously high transfer bonuses prior to this change. But as we've seen, there's a lot of changes with Bilt. So the question is, do you want to speculatively spend on Bilt to earn more points and use those points for transfer bonuses? Also, in addition to that, we don't know the cost. They gave an example in the email of 75% bonus to from gold to platinum, I believe, for $75 in Bilt Cash. So that's another reason to use some Bilt Cash. But based on the math I just described, even spending $50,000 on the card, my math says I'm going to have about $400 in Bilt Cash unused at the end of the year. The only thing I could see myself using it for would be these transfer bonuses. And like I said, I'm only trying to really earn Atmos points out of Bilt. So I'd be waiting around for this bonus that may not even come. So while that's something potentially good, it's also a risk. I'd like to get 100% bonus on all my Bilt points. I let them accrue, I'd love to turn a 3x card into a 6x card. That'd be incredible. And I think for anybody who is big in the points and miles space, those transfer bonuses are nothing to forget about. That is the factor, in my opinion, on whether this card is like a S tier. And I think that the transfer bonuses, on top of this 3x that you can get with using the points accelerator, is a no-brainer. Because again, if you're spending $25,000 on the card on a calendar year, you're getting 3x definitely. Then you're getting 3.3x on the spend that was required for non-housing, the non-housing spend required to get on your housing. So add all that up, whatever that spend is you're putting on the card, you're either above gold status automatically every year, or you're close to platinum, and you might as well spend a little bit more and get that platinum, because you can still get even higher bonuses using the excess Bilt Cash. Now, you're not going to use all the Bilt Cash that you have, but at least you're going to be able to earn potentially fantastic transfer bonuses, which I believe Bilt has all intents and purposes desire to do so. So, in my opinion, I think that Bilt Cash is not what we wanted it to be. It's way harder to use. It's way more limiting. But from a business perspective, I understand where they're coming from. I think it makes sense for them to have done it the way that they did and have all these caps. And I think that the make or break for this card is two things: the points accelerator and the transfer bonuses. Those two together make this card S tier, in my opinion. Everybody's going to argue that the credits are annoying. Couldn't agree more. Everyone's going to argue that you're only getting, you're having to pay for your housing spend with, your housing points with further spend on the card. Okay, but you're still getting the 2x and you're getting 1.33x, right? So you're getting effectively more points. I don't think anybody has any reason to complain. So, in my opinion, this card is a fantastic opportunity to spend. I probably am going to speculatively spend on the card. Here, my plan is as follows. I use the Alaska Summit card for dining, and I think it's going to be this simple, right? It's a 3-card setup, obviously, besides the Rakuten card, which I have as well. The Rakuten card, I should just mention before I get into this 3-card setup thing. The Rakuten card is fantastic. It's a simple, 0 annual fee. But it's what it allows you to do is you get 4x on Rakuten. So if you have the Palladium card and you've spent the 25,000 getting the 3x, which is great, and you're around that area, that time period where you're spending on the card, getting these credits that you don't really care about, or you now are getting only 2x, that's the time to use the Rakuten card, and on Rakuten, of course, and you're getting 4x Bilt points, right? If you connected Bilt. So you're getting 4x Bilt points on anything for Rakuten. And obviously Rakuten Dining is useful, but all the cards can connect to Rakuten Dining. What this one does is it gets you 5x on Rakuten Dining plus another 5x. Whereas with the Atmos card, you're getting 3.3x in dining. But if you spend 60,000 on the card in a calendar year, then you're getting another essentially 1.66 on the card. So in the end, it's like 4.95 if you spend exactly 60,000 on the card. So close to 5x points. Again, one of those is 100,000 companion pass. But you're getting a great value spending on this card, especially dining or anything else. It's 3x in foreign transactions as well. That's a fantastic setup for dining. This is where your backup goes if you need extra spend. And then what I think is beyond the Bilt Palladium card, you're going to have this third card in your wallet. And that's going to be either a sign up bonus that you're going for, which again, the Palladium does not mind if you have to stop spending on the Palladium card to hit a sign up bonus. You can do that easily. But it's also helpful for the categories that Bilt doesn't work for, which would be taxes and would be eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I would definitely be using something like a sub sign up bonus or a Surpass card. But the real other reason to keep a third card in your wallet is purchase protections. From what I've seen, the purchase protections don't look great on the Palladium card. So I'm going to put regular spend on the Palladium card that I don't care about having purchase protections. But when it comes to purchase protections and having that on the card, that's a reason for me to keep a Hilton card in my wallet or to keep a card I'm working on a sign up bonus for, something like that. And that's going to be the third card in the wallet, if at all. You can have your Palladium hit the back seat at that time. You can or cannot spend on a Summit at that point. But I don't know if you're looking for Summit for Alaska Atmos points. I don't think there's going to be any better setup than those three cards. The Alaska cards are kind of obviously you can get the sign up bonus from them, but the only card that is great is that Summit card. I should say the remaining Alaska cards are at. So that's my personal opinion on the Palladium card. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe. But just to recap, I think that I'm going to assume that everybody hates the credits because that's the direction things have been going in. They're very annoying. I don't like them. I don't like credits at all, predominantly with cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve. I won't mess with that. But for me, I want to get exceedingly good value from my spend. And it's very simple. Forget about all the credits other than the $200 in Bilt Cash you're getting and other than the $400 in hotel credits. If you can boils down to this, if you can use the $250 twice a year in the travel portal or $300, depending on what status tier you are, then the card's a keeper. If you spend at least $5,000 on the card and you have $200 in Bilt Cash to do that with, which again, if you spend the $5,000, you have that Bilt Cash to spend it. I think that's a no-brainer. So it's a keeper card 100% up until $25,000 in spend plus the spend that's required for you to unlock that 1x from the portal. Because of the points accelerator and because of the potential of transfer bonuses, everything else is just noise. Everything else is noise. You can spend on subs. No one's arguing that this is better than a sign-up bonus. Nobody. Sign-up bonuses are fantastic. That's where ideally most of us like to put some spend whenever we can. But if you're talking about a card for gardening, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a card that would give you more value and more potential value with those transfer bonuses than the Bilt Palladium card. So that's why it's going to be my go-to. I'm excited about the card. I can't wait to watch the YouTubers that have to have something to say about this card because I'm sure people are not very excited about it. I'm sure fanboys are going to be still happy, and then people that are that were already against it are going to be like, "See, this is what I'm talking about." Because again, we all expected Bilt Cash to be way more than it was. We thought it was going to be limited but somewhat useful still towards travel, towards hotels and the portal. That would have been ideal. And I'm going to leave it with this one point that if you're watching this, I think that there is something extremely useful that you got to think about, which is you're incentivizing people. Bilt is incentivizing people to spend less on the Palladium card over time. Once you're past that $25,000 cap, getting all of the value you can out of the points accelerator, and you've spent whatever is required for housing to unlock the 1 point per dollar. You're then using whatever credits, annoying credits you don't want. At that point, you're incentivizing people to choose another card. And I think that's dumb. Let's recap. You're getting 3%. You're paying 3 cents per point or 3 cents Bilt Cash per point when you're using it for housing. You're paying 4 cents per point when you're using the points accelerator again, with Bilt Cash, funny money anyway. Why not charge something like 5 cents per point when you're past using the accelerator and you just want to use your excess Bilt Cash to buy more Bilt points? Why not let people get 0.8x per dollar spent by essentially buying buying points with Bilt Cash for the remainder of their spend? Let people get 2.8x for the rest of their time using Bilt Cash. It doesn't cost you very much with the points. It incentivizes people to keep spending on the card like crazy, and you're still lower than that 4 cents per point that you're giving it away for the accelerator. So clearly, if you're doing the accelerator, you know that it's valuable for you. So charge 5 cents per point and Bilt Cash, and let people accumulate even more Bilt points and put more spend on the card as a no-brainer. Because right now, like I said, I'm a big fanboy as far as Atmos points and the ability to earn with Bilt. The fact that I'm going to be essentially de-incentivized the more spend I put on the card tells me everything I need to know about you guys aren't looking at it from the perspective of what your ultimate goal was. The goal of Bilt, I thought, was that you want to incentivize people to spend as much as you possibly can get them to spend on your cards and not have them be going for sign-up bonuses or have them going to other cards as an alternative, like I probably will at that point. But I don't want to have to only spend 50,000 on the card in a calendar year. Maybe I'll spend that naturally anyway, but I'd like to be able to spend way more than that and still be incentivized to do so. So that's one thing I would consider, is that you should maybe consider that if you're a platinum member, you can use Bilt Cash to unlock Bilt points at five Bilt Cash cents per point. I think that would make the most sense, because now you've got people that have already spent 50,000 on the card. They're already, they're already well into being platinum, and you don't want to de-incentivize them from continuing. So I think that's the move: is you offer platinum members the ability to buy Bilt points for for 5 Bilt Cash cents each. And if you do that, I think that you're going to get people like myself that don't even think about if they should use a different card. Like it's a no-brainer. I'm going to just use that card and use that card and use that card. I'm getting sufficient value from the travel credit and the Bilt Cash that I get annually. I might not even think about all these other credits that I could be getting with Bilt Cash. I'll probably, to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even use a lot of those credits. Probably would just wait and hold on to them and buy more points with Bilt Cash. So, you should think about that, because you're going to incentivize people to spend a lot more on the card, and you're not going to say thanks for your 50,000, but now move on to somebody else. The other thing that I think you should consider before we end this is the Obsidian card, because you're putting people in a position with the Obsidian card that they're getting potentially 2x on non-category spend when they do the 4% when they do the point accelerator. But for example, let's use someone that has 25,000 in spend on their grocery, right? That's their cap anyway. That 25,000 gets them 4x, which is fantastic. But they have to have the Bilt Cash to do it. That Obsidian card doesn't come with $200 in Bilt Cash on an annual basis. You have the credits to use, and you could probably get some value, but it's probably costing you the $95 annual fee, because you're probably not going to jump through hoops for the $50 in travel credits. So the question is, for that person on the Obsidian, how do they accumulate more Bilt Cash to be able to even buy the first 5,000 on there? And they're going to have to put non-housing spend on the card too if they want to earn towards housing. So that means that they're potentially putting a decent amount of spend not on the grocery category, just to be able to get the value out of the card with Bilt Cash to then be able to utilize the best of Bilt Cash. So you're kind of de-incentivizing people to spend on the Obsidian card beyond just their chosen category, which should never be your goal. And if it is, if that is what you want to do with that card, and you really want them to get the Palladium card, well, what I think you should do is not limit people to only being able to have one card or the other. You also shouldn't, put people in a position where the limits that you have on each card is shared. That would suck too. So let people get an Obsidian card and a Palladium card if they so choose, and get rid of these limits. Let them put these all together. If you had both of those cards, you could take the $50 credit from the Obsidian and stack it with another $50 credit from the Palladium, or the $100 credit with the Palladium if you have status. And now you're talking. You got sufficient extra Bilt Cash. That extra Bilt Cash that you're getting from the Palladium could be utilized, right? You should stack everything together. Now you've got something that makes more sense for the user, and it really doesn't cost you anything because you're just getting double the spend that you were expecting. So that's something I would consider, is keeping it open and being able to let people stack things, but also not make their limitations equal, depending on if they had two cards versus one. That's all I got to say about this new Bilt card. As you can hear, I am positive about it. I'm sure there's tons of negativity out there. I haven't even watched any videos, like I said, but I don't think that anybody can argue with the fact that, forgetting that Bilt Cash had any idea of value in our heads, and we just look at the fact that you're getting 3x for 25,000 in spend, 3x Bilt points, and the ability to potentially get transfer bonuses that turn that into 6x, it is a no-brainer to put spend on that card and not really have to think about it. Don't jump through the hoops. Don't care about the credits. Who cares about the credits? You're getting positive value just by holding the card and using the $250 biannually in hotel credits, and assuming that you get that value out of it. It's a no-brainer to keep it. It's a no-brainer to spend $25,000 on it. It's a no-brainer to put the non-housing spend on it to unlock and get 3.33x on the card. And spend beyond that is just a matter of preference. Is 2x at most worth more than whatever your alternatives are? That'll be up to you. So anyways, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, commenting, liking the video, and please come back and watch again and participate in the live. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best.